If you invest $1,000 a month in a smooth 7% model, and the first million takes about 28 years, the second takes about 9. Same contribution, same return. So why does the timeline collapse? It is not because $1 million suddenly unlocks compounding. The real turning point happens much earlier, when expected portfolio growth becomes larger than what you contribute yourself. I'm Amy. I modeled that crossover, then tested it against actual monthly market returns going back 30 years. By the end, you will know your own crossover balance and why the 9-year headline is a useful estimate, but not a guarantee. The $1 million threshold is in every retirement calculator and every financial milestone article. It is the number that is supposed to mean something. And for most people building toward it, the journey feels slow. Contributions going in every month, balance rising and falling with the market, progress that is hard to see. That experience is real. In the early years, you are doing most of the work because your contributions are the primary driver of your balance. But the mechanism that makes the second million arrive so much faster was already running long before $1 million does. This is the portfolio growth curve for $1,000 a month at a smooth 7% real return. It is a gentle slope that gradually steepens. The slow part is not a malfunction, it is the setup. The 28 to 9-year gap is the headline. The next number explains why it happens. First, the simplified planning model, $1,000 a month, 7% annual real return, the long-run inflation-adjusted average for the S&P 500. Real markets never deliver this cleanly year to year, but it is a reasonable baseline for planning. Later, we will test it against actual history. In this model, the first million takes 27.5 years. The second million, starting from $1 million and continuing the same $1,000 monthly contribution, takes 8.8 years. The third takes about 7, the fourth about 6. The gap is real and it is dramatic, and the intuitive explanation, compounding, kicks in at $1 million. Sounds like a reasonable description of what produced it. The curve steepens, the years collapse. It seems like $1 million must be the trigger, but the mechanism does not work that way. Compounding does not wait for a round number to activate, and this is where the $1 million milestone starts to look surprisingly arbitrary. Let's separate what you contribute each year from what your portfolio earns each year. These are two different forces. For most of the climb, one of them is far larger than the other. Two lines. The flat one is your annual contribution, $12,000 a year, constant throughout. The rising curve is what your portfolio earns at 7% each year, starting near zero and climbing as the balance grows. In the early years, the flat line dominates. Your contributions are doing most of the work. That is why the first 10 years feel slow. Follow the rising line forward. Around year 10, the portfolio balance reaches roughly $175,000. At 7%, that earns about $12,250 that year, just crossing above your $12,000 contribution. Those two lines just crossed. That crossover, around $170,000, is the real transition, not $1 million. This is what I call the $1 million threshold myth. The idea that $1 million represents a sudden mathematical shift. It does not. The transition is continuous. For someone contributing $1,000 a month at an expected 7% real return, it begins around $170,000, nearly 18 years before you reach the first million. By the time you do reach $1 million at an expected 7% return, the portfolio is generating roughly $70,000 a year in expected growth. Your annual contribution is $12,000. The portfolio is doing nearly 6 times the work. The first million takes 28 years because you spent those years building to the crossover. Once past it, the engine runs on less fuel. That is the smooth model. Now let's see what happens when we replace it with actual market returns. But that crossover only looks this clean in a smooth 7% model. Real markets can move the timeline by years. I ran the 1M to 2NM journey through actual monthly market returns, starting at $1 million, contributing $1,000 a month, and using real SPY returns for every month after that. I tested 27 different starting years from 1994 through 2020, long enough for each cohort to complete the journey. The smooth 7% model says 8.8 years. The historical mean across all 27 starting periods was 8.9 years, almost exactly the same, but the range tells a different story. The fastest cohort, starting at 1 million in 1995, heading into the strongest bull market in modern history, reached $2 million in under 3 years. The slowest, starting at $1 million in 1999, right at the peak of the dot-com bubble, needed 17.7 years. A nearly identical portfolio, but a very different sequence of returns. The lesson is not that the smooth model is wrong. Its mean matches history well. The lesson is that the 9-year figure is an average across very different experiences. Where you land in that range depends not on how much you contributed, but on what market conditions followed your $1 million crossing. The smooth model is the planning tool. The backtest is the reality check. So your useful number is not a single milestone. It is a crossover range. And that range depends on what you contribute and what return you assume. Here is the framework. The crossover formula: annual contribution divided by your expected real return rate. That gives you the portfolio balance where growth overtakes contributions as the primary driver. The result is a range, not a number, because your assumed return matters. If you contribute more, the crossover balance is higher, but you also build toward it faster. The proportional structure is the same. 2 questions worth asking about where you stand today. 1. Are you past your crossover? If your current balance exceeds your annual contribution divided by your assumed return rate at either 5% or 7%, the market is already the primary driver. 2. What is your 1 mm to 2 mm range? Based on the historical data, somewhere between 5 and 12 years for most investors, with outliers in either direction depending on market sequence. Contributed more per month? The range tightens. Better market conditions? The range shifts toward the fast end. The first million is not slow because compounding has failed. It is slow because you are still building the balance that allows compounding to become visible. And $1 million is not the moment the process begins. For someone contributing $1,000 a month, the transition starts closer to $170,000, though real markets make that a range, not a precise date. Track 3 numbers: what you add each year, the return range you are planning around, and the balance where expected growth overtakes your contribution. That tells you more about your trajectory than the round $1 million headline. Comment below if you want me to rerun this after investment fees and taxes are included.